I want to talk about a law that changed my life. I like to call it the law of service. I spent many, many years struggling in the depths and pits of severe addiction, alcohol, drugs, scrolling the internet. I mean, anything that you can think of that makes me feel temporarily okay. But it was really the alcohol and drugs that tore my life apart and tore everyone's life around me apart. As I'm recording this video in a few days, for the first time ever, I will have 5 years of uninterrupted clean and sobriety time. So many amazing things have happened in those 5 years. A lot of hard things as well have happened in those 5 years. I've come to understand and realize that that's life. Good things happen, bad things happen. Actually, things just happen. I get to label them as good as bad. That's something that we as humans have there's so much power within us. And my addiction was essentially born out of incredibly low self-esteem, incredibly low self-worth, where I never felt as though I measured up. My insides never matched what I thought other people's outsides looked like. I learned that that's a lie, but that was my state. It seemed like everybody else knew something that I didn't know about living life and about being a productive, successful member of society. I was so mistaken, so delusional back then. So many good people have took me under their wing and taught me just an incredible way of life that not only gives me the power to stay clean and sober, but also transforms everything. My relationships, my marriage, my career, my ability to be a loving father. Today I want to share one of those laws. I call it the law of service, but before I get into it, I'm going to share a Calendly link in the description of this video. If anyone's struggling in any way, addiction, doesn't even have to be addiction though, just anxiety, depression, career-wise, please book a time on this link. I will offer the gift of a free conversation. The only way I get to keep what I have is by giving it away. And so many people gave me so much and continue to give me so much. So I am happy to connect and learn how I can effectively bring value to you. And that's what the law of service is. We have to give away whatever it is we have in order to keep it and in order for it to grow. It will not grow if I keep it inside me. So again, about 5 years ago, I was not only newly sober, but I had a new career in medical device sales. And, for someone who's got low self-worth and low self-esteem, it was a very, very challenging career for me at the time. I had to approach surgeons in between surgeries and it was all people interaction. I had so much social anxiety at the time. I also had a wonderful mentor that life brought into my life. That's what happens, right? Life tends to bring people and situations. I just need to be aware to see them. And he was the one that taught me this law of service. He kept it simpler than that, though. He said, look, all of your fear, your anxiety, your depression, your self-pity, those are all very, very real. I get it. You're having those experiences. But at the end of the day, it's coming down to self-obsession on your part. You're obsessed with what's happening to you, how people are treating you, what's going your way, what's not going your way. At the end of the day, you are the central figure of the story in your head. So my problem was living a self-centered life. I have come to understand that's always my problem. That's always your problem. It's obsession with self. So if my problem was self-centered, then what's my solution? It's living an other-centered life. So this mentor I had, he gave me the simplest advice, whether within my marriage, which was falling apart at the time, and it's so beautiful now, incredibly loving relationship with my wife, or my career, which, man, I was lost in my career. Was convinced I was not cut out for this high pressure medical sales job. Turns out I became one of the best reps in the entire company, which was a large company at the time. But the simplest advice he gave me early on that still applies was do good deeds every day. And him and I would talk every night, and he'd be like, what good deeds did you do today? And I was living such a self-obsessed, kind of self-ruminating replay in my head at the time that I'd be like, I didn't really see any. Like, I didn't see any opportunities. And it's such a lie, because wherever you are, there is always an opportunity to be of service to others, or to the world, or to nature, or to animals. And that's the solution. And he was so gentle with me, because he's like, look, even if you didn't do what you would call good deeds, you're at least looking for them. In the act of looking outward, you're no longer self-focused inwards. He's like, that's a start. Say, I promise you, the opportunities are everywhere. And that is so true. One hospital I would go to, I would park on the street a little bit far away because I didn't want to have to pay for parking and dealing with all that and going in the parking garage. The street was so full of trash. And I got the idea, let's bring some plastic bags, some gloves, and I'd get there early, and I would just spend 20, 30 minutes picking up trash on that street every time I parked there. That's good for the world. That's good for people. That's good for nature. One of the easiest ways to be of service as well, we all have an innate need within us to feel understood, to feel valued, to feel like our life has some sort of meaning, that if I'm gone tomorrow, that my life meant something. So when we lose all of those things, people aren't understanding us. We don't feel valued. We don't feel like we have meaning. That's where that depression, that self-pity, all of that is coming from. So if you want that for yourself, the best way to get that is to offer that to others. But be genuine about it. Seek to understand other people. It's the prayer of St. Francis. What a wonderful prayer. It is better to understand than to be understood. And this ties into manifestation, right? That's a term a lot of us know. For years and years and years, I used to try to sit there and think and manifest and meditate on certain income levels, certain relationships, and all of that has come true, but I had to let all of that manifestation stuff go. And it's not right, it's not wrong. There's probably value in some of that stuff, but when I just started focusing on these simple daily actions. So everybody I'd meet at the hospital, from the person at the front desk to the custodians keeping it clean, even at stores, right? When I was on my way to work or at home. So how do I understand their point of view? And you do that by asking open-ended questions. And again, being genuine is very vital in this whole process. And I was doing it because I felt my life depended on it. I knew I was self-obsessed, so I needed to become other-obsessed. And it was like this magic started coming into my life when I really became other-focused. Just genuinely asking people about their lives, about how they got in the professions that they're in. Not what do you do, but how did you get into this? What led you to this? And having gratitude. The people cleaning up at the hospital, picking up the trash, like, thank you. I realize this is probably a thankless job, but like, you're keeping this whole place going. You're making it a place where people can be healed, and all of us come. And right, and how many people picking up trash and cleaning toilets are thanked like that, right? We thanks, policemen and firefighter, which is huge. I do that too. There's people doing so many jobs that add value to our lives. How many times do you often genuinely let them know how grateful you are that they're doing those jobs? So the magic is having a genuine interest and curiosity in other human beings. Everyone's got a remarkable story about where they're at. When I was the center of my story, my thought was like, nobody was going to understand me, my upbringing and this trauma and that trauma. That's all just a Me Too story. And I started learning about others. And that started to shift everything. And I've had the privilege and honor of helping a lot of people, whether it was in their own careers or breaking into the careers they wanted to get to, or helping to transform their relationship from one of kind of anger and attack to one of just love and acceptance. I promise we all have so much power within us. Same thing that transformed my career. And I'll tell you, there were various points, right? At one point, I wanted to make $100,000. Then I wanted to make 150, then 200, then 250. I surpassed all of that, but it was by letting it all go. Focused on what are the daily actions I can do today to bring value to the world, to the people of the world, and to nature, and to animals, to the entire world in general. And again, as I've helped a lot of people transform different areas of their life, that's the simple advice I give them. Do good deeds, whether you're at home, whether it's in your marriage, whether you're at the store with a random stranger, whether you're at a park with a random stranger, whether you're in your career. Like, look, don't make excuses for not achieving what you want to achieve and blame it on your company or the industry. If you are employed, that your company is making an investment in you. They're paying you and making an investment, so return that investment to them. And if it's truly not a workable situation, then you can move on at that point. But service is such a key to all of this. I've seen my own marriage transformed. You know, when I was newly sober, I was not my wife was not my biggest fan, to say the least, right? I just kind of tore everything apart and was a tornado. And again, this same mentor, because I would get defensive. I'd be like, look, I'm trying so hard to change my life and to get better for the family, and you're just questioning everything I'm doing. He's like, dude, she should be questioning everything you're doing. Like, ask her more questions about that. Tell her, yeah, you're sorry that your actions got you to this point, and ask her what you can do today to try to help make it better. And when I started doing those things, the whole energy of our marriage and relationship started shifting. It was no longer about me, right? I was trying to make it about her. How can I make her better? And it wasn't to fix my marriage. I just wanted to see to bring value to my wife. Whether we stayed married or not became irrelevant to me. And again, it ended up transforming, and we have such a beautiful relationship now. But my challenge to you is commit just for one day to do what you can to live a life of service. And I'm going to tell you, the brain is a cunning, baffling, powerful thing, because we have neural pathways and thoughts are habits. So the neurons want to take the path of least resistance. It takes the least amount of energy. Everything we do, even thinking, creates energy. So, and I still deal with it to this day. Like, I have not arrived. I have so many pathways ingrained in my brain about low self-esteem and I can't do this and poor me and self-pity and just looking at a glass half empty mentality. But action starts to reframe that. It kind of becomes this self-fulfilling loop. But it's simple, but it's not easy. My brain is constantly trying to go back to excuses and why I can't do something. And it's just all BS, but it's also real. That's it. It's like an illusion, but it's real at the same time. And that's where having a great support group, a mentor, accountability partners is super helpful, because I can't use my brain to fix my brain. It's impossible. That's where my problem is. It's ultimately where my solution is too, but it just gets so diluted when it's only me looking at my life. I don't have a bird's eye view of my life. You know, the creator does, whatever you want to say is the creator, whether it's God or nature or the universe. So do trusted friends. And you don't want your friends to just co-sign your BS. You want ones that are going to tell you the truth, even if its truth hurts and is hard. And this mentor that I'm telling you about, there were times early on, and still this day, I'll call him and I'll go on and on and on about all the things happening to me and the way people are treating me, and he'll let me go, and then I'll be done, and he'll be like, all right, are you done now? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. His usual response is, you got to stop being such a dick. I'm like, what are you talking about? You hear everything I just told you? And then he'll focus on the part that I did. The thing is, when living for other people, it doesn't mean being a doormat. I think we can mistake that. I used to mistake that too. You don't let people walk all over you, but you seek to bring value. And if there's people that are taking advantage of that or walking all over you, life's going to take care of that. If you're being authentic and true to yourself, you will move apart from those people. So live authentically, true to yourself. Um, be vulnerable. I mean, that is a huge way to build human connection with another human being and make other people feel okay. At the end of the day, we are all scared. A lot of us just don't know it. I really appreciate all of you listening to this message. I hope at least one of you got value out of it. And again, I have a link shared below this. If you want the gift of a conversation, I'd be happy to connect, learn about you, and do anything that I can do to help you begin to overcome. And remember, we never arrive. There is no arrival. Because the thing is, everything that you want in life, by definition, has to exist outside of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is what created the life you have now. So if you want a new life, and it's tied to those neural pathways, right? That is the comfort zone. If you want a new life, you got to do new things and think new thoughts. And it's uncomfortable because now those neurons are no longer taking the path of least resistance. Just picture like all this brush in a forest and underbrush. There's well-worn pathways that have been walked and walked and walked for years. Those are easy. But when you're trying to get a new life, there's pathways that have never been walked or walked very minimally. So you got a machete and you're just going through like this. But it can happen. I promise you. You should see my early resume. I went from job to job to job to job to job. It was always going to be the job that fixed me. I kept bringing myself to the job. Once I focused on me and becoming the best version of me for one day, and how do I grow today, and how do I get 1% better today than I was yesterday, the job sort of became irrelevant. I had a way of life that can be successful no matter what your actual profession is. I love you all, truly. I hope, again, that somebody gets something out of this. Please feel free to reach out, book a time with me. And if this resonated at all, please subscribe, like, comment. It helps me. And that's another thing about life. Life is largely relationships, which is why this law of service really works. I became very successful in sales largely because of the customers, because of the company, because of managers. All I was doing was taking action that I was afraid to take. But all of these other people played such a bigger role in my success. If you're in a relationship, a marriage, whatever, any sort of relationship, I mean, the other person is such a big part of that. If you're a parent, your kids are such a big part of that. So it goes on and on and on. So if you are constantly being of service and bringing value to others, it's actually quite logical if you think about it why life starts getting better. It's not like it is a bit mystical and metaphysical, but it's also not. It's just super logical. Because if life is essentially relationships, all of your relationships are going to be getting better by focusing on what you can do for others. So again, thank you all. There's going to be a lot more coming like this. Have a great day, everyone.